He must focus and also not jobs, but also keeping prices low. Because if there is unemployment created in the export sector, well, the cost of living becomes more difficult for them. So the government must provide incentives to help the private sector to keep and create jobs. One of the things that we are doing, together with the Secretary of Labor, is for those electronics firms who said that they don't want to fire all of their workers because they know that there will be a rebound. It's just that they don't know when the rebound will happen in the electronic sector. So they said if the government could help them and keep their workers, even if the workers don't have real work to do, but to train in the meantime. So that's what we're doing. They can pay their workers half of the minimum wage because they won't be working anyway, while the government is training them for higher skills for the rebound. And so this half of the minimum wage is not a wage. It is just an allowance for their food and their transportation to their training. So that is among the things that we are doing to help the private sector keep and create jobs. Also, while the electronics and the furniture sector of Cebu, which is heavily export-oriented, is doing retrenchment, other companies are expanding. So even as we speak now, my Secretary of Tourism, who is from Cebu, is conducting a jobs fair somewhere here in Cebu because tourists continue to come to Cebu. There is a 6% increase in tourism so far this year in spite of the global economic crisis. The government must also continue to come to the rescue of the poorest among us with targeted subsidies of food, fuel, and rice. And all that, of course, will cost money. In challenging economic times, therefore, the government must tighten its own belt and live within its own means so that we can have the money to pay for all of these subsidies and programs that I mentioned earlier. So we must live within our own means, just like the average Filipino household. So to that end, the government is taking a series of actions to stop unnecessary and wasteful spending. For example, when we were in the airport today, I checked to make sure that they start to use fluorescent lights rather than incandescent lights. That's one way of saving. The taxpayers deserve no less from the government and public servants. One of the other actions is my executive order to all government agencies to reduce by 1.5% the respective maintenance, overhead, and operating budgets. This translates to a 7 billion peso savings. And these savings are not to be kept in the bank. The government must pour all its savings and revenue into programs that help the poor and even the middle class. This includes more and more investments in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. And in my executive order, I mandated that savings from MOOE be allocated to emergency employment for the next 6 months. I mention this because Kiwanis clubs are always open to partnerships with others, including governments throughout the world. So I invite you, the Kiwanis, to increase the reach of your civic projects by considering partnerships with our government in these important initiatives. Education may be an important program thrust that would be most interesting to Kiwanis clubs, like those who are here present. Your organization has a long history supporting the growth and development, and especially the education of children. I heard, for instance, that the Kiwanis Club of Cebu has been running for almost 30 years now, Serge, a successful collegiate scholarship program. And I understand that the program has sent numerous poor students to college, and that out of the hundreds that Kiwanis has sent through college in Cebu since 1980, I understand that there are 10 summa cum laude, 47 magna, and 29 cum laudes. So congratulations for that. Also, congratulations for the Kiwanis Book Club. One of these days, Kabalen, I hope that we can also look at Kiwanis Pampanga and see what projects we can do together. For one, perhaps we can all support programs for providing meals for our children in school, and jobs and training opportunities for our young graduates. That indeed is crucial. We must tackle many challenges at once to keep our economy and way of life going strong. That's why on the part of government, we must live within our means and run a lean, efficient government. All the while, we must also simultaneously invest in people. For this reason, in the light of the global crisis, in the implementation of the rationalization program of government, I have asked Secretary Andaya to make sure that nobody is dislocated. If, in accordance with the rationalization program, an employee is occupying a position that is declared redundant due to rationalization, but he still prefers to stay in government, then the position will only be abolished upon his regular retirement. When he turns 65 or when he turns 60 and takes his voluntary retirement. So, because it would really be quite ironic if we're setting aside money for emergency employment and then we're letting other people go in the meantime. So a lot of the positions declared redundant are anyway going to be vacated by retirement in a few years' time. And I believe we can wait for that time. So these are the things that we are doing, in spite of the fact that in 2008, when many countries were having a negative growth rate, the Philippines had a GNP growth rate of 6%. We are not complacent. We have to work hard to make sure that the Philippines remains resilient in the face of the global crisis. So we are not complacent, but we are hopeful. In the Kiwanis Cebu Club website, a song of hope plays in the background while one browses the contents of the site. In part, the song goes like this: together we can, together we strive, this task to fulfill. Indeed, if we are together, we can make a difference. After all, we share a common passion, a civic organization like Kiwanis, and a government institution like the government of the Philippines. So therefore, let us all be in service together. To Kiwanis Filipinos, let us all be in service together. To Kiwanis from all parts of the region, welcome, and I hope you will also be there with your governments or working with the Kiwanis here to help our people as well. To all of you, welcome, congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Madam